Starting out with some oracle cards. Passion, calling in your soulmate. Passion, stay optimistic about your love life. Reconciliation, stay optimistic about your love life. Express your love. Reconciliation. You deserve love. Reconciliation. You deserve love. Let go of control issues. Getting to know one another. Doing a general reading here. I want to start in the 12th house today, which is Pisces house. The first house is Aries, second house Taurus, third house Gemini, fourth house Cancer, fifth house Leo, sixth house Virgo, seventh house Libra, eighth house Scorpio, ninth house Sagittarius, 10th house Capricorn, 11th house Aquarius, and 12th house is Pisces. Okay, so this is going to be a short-term energy reading just to show the trajectory in the way energy is moving through the houses, leaving room for prayer, intercession, and adjustment as energy changes all the time. Okay, thank you so much for your support on the video and on the channel and for interacting with me. Dear Holy Spirit, please give me a reading for the 12th house, aka Pisces. Okay, so roughly speaking, to describe this, it looks like multitasking and successfully multitasking, juggling multiple concepts. You know, and so my intention is to be as vague as possible while just describing the framework in an objective way so that the viewer can lay your personal situation in the format if it resonates. I'm going to get more information. So it could be like multiple streams of income, but roughly whatever Pisces is focused on, you know, they could be juggling and blending a heartache at the same time as moving forward and being productive, you know, mutating, transmutating energies, like alchemizing within themselves, healing and being productive and, you know, maintaining their goals. They could be shifting, what do you call it when somebody's rebranding, for an example, and shifting their perspectives, because there's a lot of that energy in the air at the moment anyways, like a lot of external factors that are very intense, triggering emotional overwhelmness and pain, for an example, is happening for those of us feeling that way to catalyze an introspective shift within ourselves to raise our values, to raise our self-esteem, to raise our worth, to help us make adjustments in regard to our boundaries. So for an example, those type of energies are in the air, and while moving forward through the painful discomfort and realization and having those type of epiphanies, especially in the 12th house that deals with Neptune energy, and that governs epiphanies and dreams and being able to think outside of the box. Questions that were difficult at one time are now elementary, and the answers are coming through like epiphanies and with higher understanding. So being able to think outside of the box and, create innovative ideas, cutting, new cutting technologies, for an example, is at hand. So you have the Page of Pentacles to clarify the Two of Pentacles, which substantiates it, verifies it, resonates with what I was feeling when I just seen the Two of Pentacles. Then the Magician is being clarified with the 13 major arcana, aka the Death card. It points to the 8th house and also Scorpio's energy here. There is also Virgo energy here, Gemini, Cancer, and all signs are present in this general reading. But it looks like purging, so that's a clarifier that also substantiates what I was feeling off the top here, talking about moving forward, staying in alignment within Pisces divine timing, while also healing in the process. So the 13th major arcana symbolizes purges sometimes, removing blockages so that energy more conducive can come towards you in the near future. Then the third placement with the Eight of Pentacles, that's a work embodiment. It's focused. It's as if a blueprint has been established as far as being productive and producing pentacles, generating income, focused productivity is what's being described there, working at something. So whatever Pisces is working on and focused on, and we see that there's multitasking happening there, transmutation as described. The Seven of Pentacles is here too. So the Seven of Pentacles can embody emotional overwhelmness. There could be a illusion or fantasy, delusions in the Seven of Cups. I like to look at it in an optimistic way, that if somebody, for an example, didn't have much in a previous chapter, especially since we're talking about raising frequencies and self-esteem and value systems, if there was a lack of something that was needed in the past, suddenly having options, sure, that could feel overwhelming, but it also feels like a sense of abundance. It's better than nothing. There's a lot of potential here. So it also resonates with what was being described about healing and making adjustments in the psyche as well as in something that's physical, for an example. So there's, so it's reasonable to see some disturbance, emotionally speaking, here, since this is water energy, because they're shifting narratives while also being productive. So it looks like there's a lot of material here. There's a lot of potential to add to their productivity. And then as you see, when I put my standard operating procedural equation in here, which is what I like to call it, I'm looking for a transformative body, which is right here. And I'm looking at what precedes that. It's the Pentacles, Two of Pentacles, at most Three of Pentacles. If there's Three of Pentacles, sometimes that points to obstructive interference. But the intention is to optimize the situation, to collaborate with others with a specific skill type or within your peers. However, with the intention to improve a situation, optimize a situation, multiply and increase the output of something valuable. So you see that being successful here, starting out with two at, maybe three, and ending up here with the Eight of Pentacles. And there's potential for more. So this is a positive upward tick, energetically speaking, for Pisces. So I hope I was able to describe this roughly with metaphors and objective hypotheticals to create a vague framework if it resonates for you to put your storyline there and find context. If it doesn't resonate, thank you for kindly disregarding it, and I'll be back to do another. This is the way I see the energy moving in the 12th house as of now. Next, we'll move to the 10th, or correction, the 11th house, which is Aquarius. Hi chat, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate your support on the channel and on the video. Okay. Dear Holy Spirit, please put resonance in the deck to give me a reading for the 11th house, aka Aquarius. Yeah, this. Okay, so I don't think I'm done developing this, but that clarifier there. So when I first initially pulled the spread, it was clear to me it looked like Aquarius is thinking about something. So we've been seeing a running storyline of Aquarius thinking about a lot of things, you know, and it appeared that had a couple of pots on the stove that they were working on. So I like to call it metaphorically like a masterpiece or some sort of prototype or a plan that they were working on. It looked like they had a couple of plans under development and they processed those plans accordingly. And it looked like for each of the plans that they had processed, they had everything they needed to go forward with it. And in so much that it looked like it was good to pretty much set it and forget it and let it move on an autopilot setting and be able to expect profits from that, like maybe even passive profit, or if it's a job that, you know, for an example, being described, finding a sense of comfort at that job, or, you know, mastery at the job, to a sense where it was like something that is more passive now. They kind of feel like they could do it with their eyes closed, almost like. So it's been seeing some running storylines with that type of theme. Hey chat, hi. And so now I see the same type of energy here. Like, okay, now that that is off the ground and, you know, set and forget it type passive, you know, passively moving forward as described, here's another thought where they're considering. It's almost as if another project, because that's one of the metaphors that I've used, a project or a prototype or a plan of some sort. And this time they're wondering if they have what it takes to get it off the ground. And this looks like there's stress, like there's doubt, that this particular plan has what it takes to get it off the ground. And then it was clarified with the Four of Pentacles, which is holding back. So this Empress, which looks on the outside looking in to supposedly embody everything that's needed for whatever, for whatever, everything that would be needed for whatever, is being clarified with the Four of Pentacles. So at the very least, we're showing coming up lacking. The clarifier, it adds additional information that the lacking could be to their part of holding back. The Empress deciding not to contribute, basically. It's not as to say, the Empress doesn't have it, but to say the Empress, perhaps this energy here is the same energy of the Empress, is looking here at the Pentacle bush that was metaphorically described to be the project, the goal, the prototype, the masterpiece. However, the Empress themselves could be looking at this, and in this decision-making analytical process, they're considering what it takes to nurture it. They're taking past experiences to help them assess from their past experience what worked, what didn't, so to speak, and also if it was worth it, because there's a pinnacle that they have sown and reaped the reward and the harvest. There's a pinnacle there that they were able to collect. So they may consider, if the effort I put in, is it worth me to continue? Is it worth me to make certain adjustments to increase the output, or etc.? Or is it that I cut my losses? Is it best that I cut my losses because what it took to produce this pinnacle off this pinnacle bush may not have been worth it? So to move into this embodiment and see holding back, so it could be someone else holding back in Aquarius's plan, or it could be Aquarius themselves holding back. And basically, like I said, I'm trying to establish a rough framework for the viewer, if you find resonance, to put the rest of it in. So either Aquarius is holding back, or someone in Aquarius's energy field is holding back. But the good thing about it is, what I like here is that Aquarius is having an opportunity to assess this. And that's what they're doing. This whole picture, to me so far, there's still areas that I want to work on and clarify. But this reading is pretty much done, because I already came to this translation before this clarifier. The clarifier just resonated. So I went ahead and came back here to describe what's on the table. It's nice that they're assessing this right here, because this position represents like past energy, this one more present energy, and this one is future energy. So there's opportunity, which is what I like to do in this reading, to do a short-term energy reading, so that it gives room to make adjustments, assessments. It gives room for prayer, intercessions. It gives room for you to be the author of your destiny, etc. So yeah, it looks pretty stressful. It looks like having to regroup, replan. Now also, just to be consistent, there have been a running storyline here in the 11th house for Aquarius, and it was the storyline that I described it metaphorically as being a conveyor belt. And it looked like, yes, the plans, the masterpiece, the prototype, whatever have you, Aquarius was going through an analytical process of, I called it quality assurance. There was the King of Swords here in the third placement where the pentacles were moving through. And it was clear to me, it looked like Aquarius was pretty much, judging the quality of the output on the conveyor belt. And at times, for me, it felt clear that there were some, of the plans, the masterpiece, the prototype, what have you, did not meet their standard, did not meet the quality assurance. And then I just metaphorically described a story of them flipping the tables over and sending it back. So here could be a magnified diagram of that, sending it back. Oh no, this one, that's not going to work. Send it back to reevaluation, back to the planning board, to What are we going to do? Are we going to cut this? Are we going to cut our losses? Are we going to make certain adjustments and run it through again? Can we make certain adjustments, run it through again without having to count on this energetic body here? What if we remove this part of the equation, remove this variable and put it through again? What, can we make it? That type of readjustment is what's being described there. Okay, so we'll put a pin in that translation, and I'll pull some additional clarifiers, because clarifiers, for me, they're going to redirect. They're either going to reiterate and restate, basically confirm, or they're going to add additional information. Okay, so we're going to keep working on this. Just a little additional information here, guys. It's going to get a little bit esoteric, okay? So it's going to apply to a small percentage in the collective that may find resonance. It's the type of reading, it's the type of esoteric translation that's like, he that has an ear to hear, let him hear, you know? Oh, okay. So basically, here's the magician. Here's an empress. Here is the emperor. And here's a high priestess there on the decks that I'm reading with. So, all right, a couple of things here. So, for those of you who are familiar, have been here a couple of times, then you may remember me describing at times when the high priestess makes an appearance, it indicates that there's another person in a picture, like in a relationship. And so when this emperor and the magician showing up in a tarot reading with this author and designer can point to another person in the relationship. So then the emperor and the empress is a couple, and the high priestess and the magician is a couple. It also can describe different characteristics of the couple. For example, like the magician may pair better with a high priestess, emperor may pair better with an empress. Like they appear to be a match, they appear to be a match. But what we're looking at is an empress and a magician, not necessarily a match. But that's where the esoteric translation comes from, because you would be the judge. This is your subjective reading. You be a judge. There's certain qualities that a magician has that maybe an emperor doesn't have, and vice versa. Qualities the emperor has that maybe a magician doesn't have. So remember, and I'm explaining that because the empress came into the picture holding back. So almost to allude to there's not a match. Maybe that's why the empress is holding back. So I wanted to point that part out. But also, because there are multifaceted translations available, like the magician also is an indicator as the major arcana it is of divine timing and alignment, the perfect time for manifestation and everything coming into fruition like as it was intended to be, to maximize the abundance, like a big bang type of energy, like a miracle can happen here type, or this perfect time to meet Mr. or Mrs. Right is right here, because the magician would be here. But here you can see that there's some pause for reflection. It's like, wow, this is the perfect time to basically be reaping my harvest, but I'm at the drawing board wondering, wondering. So there's that. Now, the comfort that I have whenever I come to this type of energy in a reading is that, okay, despite what's going on, it was meant to happen. This was meant to happen. Like, so, for those of us who pray and believe in the Most High, etc., however your belief system may go, then I'm like, well, at least the Most High knew that this was going to happen. So this must be in the plans. So, like, when that type of dynamic plays out, it's almost like the Most High revealed something to you. You might have had a dream or something, and you found, that there was a counterfeit, or that there was an imposter, or that there was a setup plan, premonition type energy. Then it could have looked good as gold, but then you pause because you had some sort of premonition for a warning, because the magician is there, and now you're looking at it looking for the decoy, for an example. It could be something to that, especially because you're looking here and then you see, no, there's something out of alignment. It's not balanced. And having the four, knowing that, and if this is not going to come through, if, maybe it will come through, maybe it wasn't, but it's a big enough if that I might not want to have it included in my plans. But yeah, as far as timing, on the surface, this was supposed to come through, but because of premonition for warning, now I'm regrouping. Oh, darn it, okay, send it back. And it's okay because it's all within divine timing. Let's figure this out. All right, so that's a loose framework. Let's see. Oh yeah, keep working on it. Also, guys, it could, just to add another hypothetical that would only potentially resonate with a small percentage of the collective. For an example, this Empress could be a part of this plan, had gathered something valuable from the profitability, or, could have gathered all the resources that the Empress needed, something very valuable, and decide withhold now suddenly. Pull back. This Empress could also be maybe salvaging what they have. It's either they might have amassed a certain amount of wealth and decide to renege on the program and pull back, or the Empress is taking their intrinsic value and pulling back. So just wanted to give a hypothetical to kind of give some ideas about what might fit into that scenario. An Empress being in the picture, pulling back, pointing to the Empress having a pair or a match with the Emperor, and having a magician here may find pulling back because they realize there's some characteristics that the magician has, where they need an emperor there. They themselves might feel like, I need an emperor on the stage, not a magician, or vice versa. The magician might say, I need the high priestess right here, not the empress. But that's just an example. see. All right, so the Seven of Cups, I just wanted to readjust and pull a card for this placement, another card combination. The Seven of Cups being clarified with the Knight of Swords almost may suggest there might be some lies or manipulativeness in the conversation or communication. Something about the communication might be off. So you want to pay attention to the red flags as far as that. It looks like some communication would be coming toward Aquarius in the near future. So the miscommunication that might happen, which basically means take it with a grain of salt, could be due to, because at this point there's kind of like a lot of hands in the pot. So it could be due to someone's philosophical differences, or the way that they perceive the situation to be could be different than, you know, than what it is, than what the author of the of the plan intends it to be, because the Seven of Cups are around here. So only in the case of, so what I feel like too is that it's saying like, you know how some people might say, this is not a diplomatic situation. This is a, like, what do they say? This is not, like, basically a dictatorship. Yeah, this is a dictatorship. It's my way or the highway type. Because someone might have not agree, for an example, with the way, not agree with the program, so to speak. And they might be trying to, so there's a dissonance there, because it's like, no, this is my program. It's running like this. This is my blueprint. This is how it works. Somebody else might be saying, but this is wrong and this is wrong. And how are you doing that? And then you expect, you know, this. You can't do that. This is a dictatorship, not a diplomacy. Like, it is what I say it is. But unless there's somebody here that actually understands the plan very much, they know, you know, they have a very close relationship with the master builder, so to speak, then their perspective is likely to be very accurate, and they're going to be able to take this complex scenario and relay it to the master builder, because we've seen that there was an embodiment here of judgment. Some figure was here. In the previous reading, it was the King of Swords itself. So it was like they were, and this whole scenario was described that they felt that they needed to roll up their own sleeves and be there themselves, because they couldn't trust anyone else with the job. So here, having the Knight of Swords, there's kind of an open-end, multifaceted translation there, depending on the reliability of the intelligence here and their ability to accurately assess this potential confusion or misunderstanding. You can see the chaos. Unless they're able to relay that and accurately describe it and bring it back to the master builder, then we have resonance. You know, that's basically what you have, the communication accurately coming back here to help bring an understanding to the magician that's here assessing the situation. It almost feels like this is what, but so communication is coming towards Aquarius in the near future is what this suggests. And the communication may be amiss, or it may be just the missing puzzle piece that you need. That's what it needed to be added to this reading, what the clarifiers provided. Okay, so I want to tap in here and check out some love oracles. We so happen to have You Deserve Love on the top of the oracle deck. Getting to know each other, finances and career. Make an appearance there. Religious factors. unrequited love. So I just wanted to tap in there and see what was going to be said. So I feel like that's a confirmation of what I described there. You know, if there's unrequited love, for an example, there's dissonance. So there is a, like, it could potentially be a one-way street. If, finances and career are an issue, you know, that points to the resources, as described, are pulled back, you know, as if maybe they got it, but they don't want to contribute it. Or maybe they got it and they pulled it from the equation and now they're dipping, they're taking off with it, or they are salvaging what they have and exiting the plan. But all of those hypotheticals are clarified with that. You deserve love type. That could also communicate that there's something missing there that deserves, that needs to be there as described. So I just wanted to kind of give some examples of how those clarifiers helped me establish a resonance there and a confirmation there. Okay, so now I'll be moving on to the next house, which is going to be the 10th house in just a moment. Okay, chat, thank you for interacting in the chat. Thank you for your support on the video and on the channel. I appreciate that support. It inspires me. For those of you who are posting questions, that type of interaction inspires me to open the session of the yes or no questions. And I appreciate the greetings and the affirmations and salutations in the chat too. Thank you for that. Thank you for hitting the like button as well as support on the channel and on the video. Thank you for your subscriptions. Dear Holy Spirit, please put resonance in the deck to give me a reading for Capricorn, aka the 10th house. Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. It feels like a Wheel of Fortune energy, a spin cycle energy of the major arcana, the 10th major arcana, without having the Wheel of Fortune there. Currently, let's see, the Wheel of Fortune. One place the one place the Wheel of Fortune currently is in real time is the second deacon in Leo. And it translates to the Six of Fire in the tarot. The Six of Fire is a supportive embodiment, like being surrounded by, you know, a group, a network that are there to see you be successful and, you know, support you. So that's what the Six of Fire represents symbolically. And like it being right now in the second deacon of Leo. Leo is the fifth house that governs relationships, courtship, risky behaviors or investments, and also potentially children dealing with conception concerns like that. And so I'm feeling Wheel of Fortune energy without seeing the actual Wheel of Fortune. So I looked at the placement of the planets at the moment, for the moment, to get the atmosphere in like real time, why that may be the case. What also confirmed it for me was this tower, aka the 16th major arcana, in the third placement in the spread. This is the second placement, this is the first, representing past energies in the first, present energies in the second, future energies in the third placement. The tower being clarified with the Two of Pentacles, a minor arcana, and the Two of Pentacles major arcana. The 16th major arcana is the tower. So you see here, that felt like spin cycle, like this juggling is not stable enough to support this tower, this structure, this building, whatever it is in focus, right? So there's not enough support there. So it clarifies this tower. It points to possibilities as to why it happened. And it makes sense because here in the second placement, you see there's some static around here. There's something going on, and I'll describe it around the Queen of Pentacles. The Queen of Pentacles technically points straight to the 10th house, Capricorn's house. The Queen of Pentacles also, and it also embodies Virgo, the 6th house, and Taurus, the 2nd house. This Page of Pentacle embodies Virgo, the 6th house, potentially too, you know. But again, all of these earth elements, here's the Knight of Pentacles, all the earth elements point toward all of the houses of the earth, like 10th house Capricorn, 2nd house Taurus, 6th house Virgo. So anyhow, regardless of that, the pentacles are here. So this is the element needed to build a strong infrastructure like a tower. Remember, like a tower is also a strong tower when it's stable. So right here, the static that's around here, it looks like there could be a delay, like a pause, something is happening. And also that's confirmed here with the Hangman. The Hangman is all about a pause. It's a pause. It's like a cocoon where the butterfly emerges within divine timing, complete and ready. So here the Pentacles is held up in this Hangman type energy, but there's a divine timing element as described to it. I also like to call this embodiment caught up in the spirit. It has Neptune energy. It also is Pisces Major Arcana. In this energy, the element in this cocoon as described is able to become innovative, higher learning, have epiphanies. This is why I call it caught up in the spirit, because all of these energies are available to the element while it's cultivating as described for the butterfly to emerge. Challenges, questions that were hard and difficult to comprehend, may have been a constant stumbling block to them, suddenly become elementary. They're able to think outside of the box, and in that way then become quite innovative and create cutting edge technologies and understandings, etc. It's a very beautiful energy to be in, especially when it's allowed to come to its mature date and authentically, organically release as that butterfly as described. But there's a delay being described right here. So around here, seeing that type of a delay too makes sense in its contextual order in the storyline being presented. The Queen of Pentacles, you see, the Queen of Pentacles is an embodiment that dispatches, metaphorically speaking, the pages in the nights. So the Queen of Pentacles, pointing to the 10th house, embodies standards, rules, regulations, expectations, and boundaries. And so where those type of laws are etched in the sand, it makes clear where violations, toxicity, overindulgences, addictions are had as well. So I like to describe it as a checklist, so to speak. So here that also gives some contextual understanding as to what the delay is. There's a sense of quality assurance. There's expectations for the way that things are moving forward. The dispatching of the page, returning the page, returning to the queen that dispatched it, the dispatching of the night, having its mission statement as directed by the Queen of Pentacles and moving forward it's toward its mission destination, toward its intended destination. So it could be, with everything said, that there was a sense of the timing being off because there's a lack of alignment here. There's, in those Two of Pentacles, there's potentially indecisiveness taking place, multitasking. For an example, in a job where the 10th house does govern work and career, work ethics, status, they could be short-staffed. People wearing multiple hats of responsibilities because they could be overextending themselves due to a shortage of staff or lack of qualified workers. Somebody could be underqualified or someone could be overqualified in the wrong position type of disorder, bringing about fragility to the structure. And it looks like what's necessary to add the value needed here to bring about the structure needed is delayed. Could be delayed because here's the justice and then here's a release. So it looks like justice as far as maybe a legal matter or a matter of perspective, basically the justice that this embodiment is holding a scale. So depending on something not measuring out an equitability there, it's not equitable, it's not fair, something is, demands are too high, the price is too high, something to that extent, someone, et cetera, et cetera. So you see someone freeing themselves from the situation. They could be recompensed for damages and released out of that, or justice served and or equitability established, and they're moving forward with the night. But even this mediation taking place could cause a delay, and it looks like it did. But then again, it's like there's divine timing over here. So it was all intended to be this way. So the nice thing about this type of a reading, again, is that I like to do the short-term energy readings because it gives time for adjustments to be made, prayer, intercession, and also being the author of your own destiny. If the reading resonates, for an example, and if this is your, uh, the Corinth structure, a Capricorn or someone in Capricorn's energetic body, that matters. There would be times like, oh yeah, there is some dissonance around here. What can I do? But anyhow, it's a rough sketch with rough metaphors and hypotheticals there to try to color in the framework. Okay, so I just want to pull another spread to make sure, to see if there's any other translations. I'm reminded that we talked about the sixth house, which is Virgo's house. That sixth house also symbolizes support and help and health and routine, daily routines, etc. Because that archetype is on the table again here in the form of the Hermit, which points to the sixth house and also Virgo's energy potential. And then there's heavy pentacles, so Capricorn and Taurus energy here. Here's the Knight of Cups, so that also we felt that Hangman. We've seen the Hangman there. So here's a reiteration of that Hangman energy, but as well as the 8th house, which is Scorpio, and the 4th house, which is Cancer. So that building, that structure that was there could be a building like in the 4th house. Okay, so as far as that 12th house, we did actually do a refresh reading so far because we started in the 12th house and we had seen Pisces energy in the 12th house moving from a pain. They had experienced some pain, heartbreak, disappointment, but they were still able to keep moving forward through the pain. So healing through the pain. Here's a healing embodiment. Staying focused and working to meet certain deadlines. Here's an embodiment that describes divine timing. Here's an embodiment in the Queen of Fire, which directly points to the 1st house, but also the 5th house, the 1st house of the house of the I am, of the self, also governing first impressions and etc. But a very dynamic, charismatic, focused energy where one's self-interests are at the forefront. The 5th house, Leo's house, is a house that does govern the ego. It also is the house that deals with risky behavior, risky investments, children, conception, romantic dating and courtship, And the ninth house, Sagittarius's house, a house that embodies travel, not only of the physical body, but of the psychological mind. So going back to the Queen of Fire being here, definitely describing moving forward, moving forward. So moving from pain, and while moving from the pain, moving through the pain, healing at the same time, and also keeping up with divine timing and alignment. And this is interesting too, to feel the hangman, like this whole energy during all of this movement. Remember the hangman being described as that cocoon where the butterfly will emerge within its divine timing. Feeling the hangman right here, but also the residual energies. So I feel like this is a beautiful schematic to describe what is happening in the cocoon. That energy, I like to call it, when I'm looking at it from the outside, looking in, caught up in the spirit, an embodiment that's perfect for those epiphanies to be had, questions that seem so far away, but just really wanted to know certain questions suddenly become elementary answers, the ability to think outside the box, to become innovative, etc., as described. So here, the Eight of Pentacles, which is the working environment or embodiment, the 10th house governs work and careers through the broken heart. Somebody is trying to and not trying to, they are turning lemons into lemonade. They're flipping negatives into positives. They're pulling a rabbit out of their hat through the pain, and moving forward and moving toward their healing and keeping up with divine timelines. So it looks like as that, that scripture, or is it, it's not even a scripture, huh? Is it something believers just say? He might not come when you want him, but he's always on time, speaking of the Most High. But this right here is what I'm seeing in the 10th house. So I feel like it's restating what we read in the previous spread, but I just wanted to double check it in different cards is showing up the same type of energy. So now we're going to go ahead and move to the next house, which will be the ninth house, Sagittarius's house. In just a moment. Dear Holy Spirit, please put resonance in the deck to give me a reading for Sagittarius, aka the ninth house. Thank you, God. Hallelujah. Okay, so for this one, let's see. Okay, so I just wanted to put a little heart in the chat. Thank you guys for your support on the video and on the channel. So for the ninth house reading, guys, it resonates with a running storyline I've been thinking was really curious for a moment, because it's like, where did I see this reading for Sagittarius? But it was strongly Sagittarius's energy. So I feel like there's a small percent in the collective of Sagittarius that is in a that could be in a third party relationship. And it seems that they, as the storyline was moving forward, that they were spending time with one of their lovers. Seemed like the definition of a sneaky link, because even in the reading itself, it was very secretive and withdrawn on the reading table. So, and it also looked like there was a high possibility that they also were with someone who had a third party of their own. Like they each had their own third party and they were spending some quality time together. So it looks like that time is coming to an end. It looks like time is coming to an end and they're starting to kind of get back to life, you know, get back to their daily routines, it almost looks like. And we're seeing this dynamic that seems to confirm that yes, there's a third party situation, there's somebody else in the connection. And then we're actually seeing High Priestess being clarified in the clarifying deck with its own card. But I also felt like the Empress wanted to come out as well. So there's the Empress and the High Priestess clarifying the High Priestess. But it's interesting that that dynamic is on the table like that, because it almost seems to suggest that where the High Priestess and the Empress comes out, sometimes there's kind of a clear resonance in the reading as far as who's the main and who's the other woman. And by definition, well, hey, actually, let me not go there that far, because that's all I wanted to say. And this, or that's all I needed to say here, because in this clarifier, it almost suggests that they both have an equal place, like they are interchangeable, their energy is interchangeable. Like one could be the main at one point, and the other could be kind of energetically the other woman. That's one way to read it. But another way is, for some reason, the High Priestess, like, yeah, there could be a shift basically as far as positioning the other woman in the main. So it seems to be that. Matter of fact, as I come back over here, yeah, because I was just reading that, and I'm like, oh, over here, the Seven of Pentacles and the King of Swords being here, he may be making this type of determination. He may be actually looking at this Pentacle tree to make this assessment. Yep, of potentially maybe moving around their love interest in this case and shifting the positions of who their main lover is and who is the other lover. Okay, guys. So yeah, what I was stopped myself saying at first is, I guess it comes into play right now, is that one thing that stood out about differentiating the main and the other is the main could potentially be where the resources are going, where they are housed together and they might build together. But there's some sort of distinguish the main, period on that part. Then also though, the Empress could embody, for example, maybe the one that has children they could be a co-parenting dynamic, whereas it's possible that the high priestess, in the context of being the other one, might not have children in the connection, might not be co-parenting in the connection. Maybe they have their own children, but not, in this connection where resources are going, or had been going there yet. That information is not available, but that's a hypothetical to try to help color the framework of what is a storyline developing here. Let's go back. All right, so the Seven of Pentacle, this Pentacle bush, and it came to clarify the Two of Fire and the Three of Fire here. And there's actually something, let's see, Two of Fire, Neptune in Aries, 3 degrees. Neptune in Aries at 3 degrees, Two of Fire. So currently, because the degrees likely shifted the last time I took those positioning notes, but it likely is still in the first decan. So Neptune and it's like I was feeling Neptune in the air, and some readings where Sagittarius's energy felt. So let's see. Oh, yeah, Two of Fire. Two of Fire. Neptune, Mars and Aries, Sun and Aries. So this is Mars and Aries, the Sun and Aries. This is fire energy. So there could be Aries dynamically on the stage. There's all signs are present in a general reading such as this, though I don't want to get carried away as to suggest that one sign is like dominating the reading. But the significant signs that are standing out: Aquarius, the 11th house; Aries, the 1st house; Leo, the 5th house; Sagittarius, 9th house. And let's see. So let's see here. As far as it looks like that quality time that they spent together, those lovers. Oh, did I finish? Libra, 7th house; Aquarius, 11th house; Gemini, the 3rd house; Taurus, strong Libra, again, Libra's energy; Pisces, Scorpio, and Cancer. 4th house for Cancer, 12th house for Pisces, 8th house for Scorpio. There's just a small hint of Virgo, Taurus, or Capricorn, but like I said, everyone is present. So let's see here. All signs are present in a general reading such as this. So as far as them potentially coming to an end of the quality, intimate time that they were spending in that third-party situation, running storyline, it seems that they're coming to realize, someone in this connection is coming to realize they might start to see different qualities in their relationship. Maybe they're getting deeper feelings basically for the one that they just spent time with. Them spending time with that other person may have shifted their perspectives. Maybe they're finding that their connection at home is more, than what is more valuable than what they thought before. So it seems to be some sort of shift in perspective, such as that being described. Okay, so let's see. There's one storyline there. It's been a running storyline. I wonder what's up with the Nine of Swords, the King of Swords, and typically it talks about nightmares of the soul, sleepless nights, anxiety, worry, stress, some guilt. But sometimes, depending on perspective, it could be tears of joy, or a surprise, a shock. So let me see what's going on. I want to just look over here and see what else can be seen in the Nine of Swords. King of Pentacles, something to do with resources potentially. We're like looking at that. Did we mention that? I don't know. Okay, something to do with resources. Bachelor, bachelorette energy, the Seven of Fire, but also maybe some accusations. Here goes the High Priestess making an appearance here. Seven of Cups, emotional disorientation or overwhelmness. Okay, looking at the Nine of Swords, the card that I'm looking to clarify. Seven of Pentacles over here, trying to make the assessments, trying to make everything make sense, put it into its proper perspective. The Strength card, we mentioned we felt the fifth house energy, that's Leo's energy, pointing to conception, children, risky behavior, risky investments, romance, courtship, entertainment. Seven of Cups, uncertainty in regard to that. Nine of Pentacles, I feel like this is where the heart grows fond. This is, home for real, because it looked like the sneaky link type of dynamic. I don't know where they went, but it was a high potential that it wasn't actually home, but it was a place that they got for themselves, to have time for themselves, is what it almost looked like as well. But let's see. The World. Okay, so remember when I was describing, it felt like that time away, and the experience it shifted their perspective in the way that they looked at things. And so here it's even adding context over here, where I was looking at the Three of Fire and the Two of Fire, because the Two of Fire is looking at the landscape on the terrain of their horizon, in their journey, in their life, from the biggest vantage point possible, to make the best assessments, to look at the big picture and see where they could restructure, make adjustments, make changes, just see the big picture. And then the Three of Fire is seeing, as they're looking at the big picture, seeing what's coming toward them, and what they're moving toward, they want, what's coming toward them, engaging whether it's what they want or not. So that's why I give that sense that that time that they were spending has come to an end, and they're starting to get back into the program and look at, how daily living is for them, what their daily routines are, type energy. And that's where I could feel like a light earth element. That would be like sixth house Virgo energy, getting back into the things. Finances made an appearance with the King of Pentacles, which does point to the second house, Taurus's house, looking at the finances and, the potential, pointing to the Empress here, the potential of being able to build, the potential of ability to be sustained financially in the connection. It looks like they're assessing that. Maybe they also just spent, a lot of money that, was, maybe they went over a little bit. Maybe they went under and, saved money in the process. But all those things. What else? Oh, yeah. About what's coming toward them, and what's coming toward them that is mutual. I feel like it gives some context too about the passion that they just experienced. It almost feels like the chemistry. Which one do they feel wants them the most, makes them feel alive and inspired, versus potentially sometimes the Empress is more of a, like a chore type of obligatory duties and responsibilities, and, a rigid schedule of routines and etc. Versus the High Priestess could be more passionate, basically tends to represent the passion that's there, the charisma, the spontaneity in the love and the romance, and the attraction that's magnetic, that's pulling them toward them, making them feel new in life. So that could be more pronounced and desirable versus, and maybe the King of Swords feels that that's more needed in its life right now, versus feeling the mundane routine. But maybe there was too much uncertainty and too much maybe immaturity in the romance and the entertainment of it all. And maybe the King of Swords desires to go back to more structure and routines in the family. We saw the Nine of Pentacles make an appearance. The family that, Sagittarius and or Sagittarius's person of interest needs in their life, versus just, being their feet off the ground, so to speak, maybe. So that points to the World card that made an appearance there. Learning lessons after experiencing some ups and downs, trials and tribulations, learning lessons and mastering the lesson. Maybe it was all a lesson to catalyze. And it brings back the second house having the wounded warrior in retrograde at the moment. Everything dynamically happening, like these Nine of Swords, this intense energy is a catalyst to introspectively raise the vibration of values, and in some cases standards and boundaries. So there's the World looking at this energy here. And then it reminds me too that the King of Swords is there. So the King of Swords knows what it wants, knows how to go about getting it, and has very decisive decision making qualities. So the World mastering those lessons and then moving into a new beginning. So that's the way I see the energy moving in the ninth house for now. Outside of a love reading where I was talking about third party situations, etc., because like I said, I think that caters to a small percentage of Sagittariuses. But the way you could see this maybe in an entrepreneurial interpretation, because there's definitely has been entrepreneurial endeavors and those storylines in the ninth house. So you would look at, for example, this High Priestess and Empress dynamics to gauge the viability, the potential of their plans getting off the ground and being successful. And there's a high intuitive nature with the High Priestess on the stage, and also an amount of resources to make this a realized project. It does look like the project and or the goals are under development as far as the Seven of Pentacles being in the second position in the middle of the spread with the Three of Fire and the Two of Fire as described. It could still be in the planning phase. And with this Nine of Swords and the King of Swords, they could be regrouping to a certain extent, like revamping something that may not have gotten off the ground as intended or needed. But that, yes, it is an update of a running reading that we had in the ninth house, because there have been like a variety of what I like to call metaphorically masterpieces, plans, prototypes. There have been a variety of launching of this type of technology in the ninth house of plans that Sagittarius had. Some of these plans, the masterpieces were launched successfully and have already in some cases began to produce profit and is on a autopilot set and forget it type of residual mode, and then there were some of those prototypes that were not launchable. They needed to come back and be revamped. In some cases there was some sort of infringement according to rules, regulations, boundaries, etc. Like Capricorn 10th house energy, there was something in regard to that caused delays. So that could be an example of having to regroup and having to reassess things so that prototype could either cut losses altogether, or how could it be managed differently, nurtured better to add it to the rest of those prototypes that were able to become masterpieces and launch successfully as described. Even in those running storylines, it was mentioned how Sagittarius some cases didn't have time to address the infringements that took place. There was like a deadline or some sort of time that they could come back and revisit it because they had a lot of other things that they needed to take care of within other deadlines that were more urgent. So the Seven of Pentacles and this dynamic here. Two of fire, three of fire, seven of pentacle. Also talks about looking at the big picture to reprioritize. So this would be something that could speak to those running storylines, like, okay, Sagittarius finally has the time to go back and look at, the can of worms that they weren't ready to open at that time. They could be doing that at the moment. And again, within High Priestess, intuitively being led to decide what to do, feeling that hangman energy in the air could be something that they paused for the moment, didn't have time to delve into it because they needed to do additional research. They needed time to kind of meditate and think about it because they felt the potential to think outside of the box, to have answers, in regard to the questions presented, that if with more time they knew they could really benefit and with the answers and, you know, have dynamic results. Dynamic results are possible here in this with the major arcana of the High Priestess and Empress at the end of the reading. And so it takes me to this cliffhanger area where we're off the page in the short-term energy reading. Hopefully I did a good job at lightly etching the framework so that if it resonates, you could put your storyline there and your context, see certain different perspectives. So this, I feel like, is a finished reading. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and clean up the, prepare to move to the 8th house, which is Scorpio's house. Dear Holy Spirit, please give me a reading for Scorpio, aka the 8th house. All right, so in this reading, there's a high likelihood for reconciliation. Seeing romantic feelings, new love, free yourself, give your relationship a chance, calling in your soulmate, let go of control issues, healing family issues. Engagement, children, and very soon. Okay, so yeah, it looks like here there is an opportunity to reconcile. Okay, and that was confirmed with the engagement here and children here. So your person could be thinking about, if you have children together, thinking about the children wanting to come back together, maybe thinking about raising the connection to a higher level of commitment in the near future. The fact that there are pinnacles here, in the future placement, that could be one of the potentials that they're thinking about. They could be missing you. This looks like they're anticipating meeting up. So if you guys were not apart, if this is a new relationship, it looks like if you're planning to meet up, even if you are dating or just getting to know each other, it looks like anticipation about that meeting that's coming up. So here it looks like they have prepared themselves to spend some time to get to know you, prepared themselves to be a viable lover in a partnership that has the opportunity to ascend in a higher level of marriage. It looks like they've prepared themselves, and the reason is because this world card generally for me symbolizes, after going through ups and downs, trials and tribulations, mastering those lessons and ascending in a karmic chapter. And then it's also accompanied with the Ace of Fire, so a new beginning, a new start, all to clarify the Seven of Pentacles, which is still potential and a thought process consideration. What does this take to be successful? Or what do I need to prune, cut, block out, or maybe even cut losses, cut it off altogether type energy. It looks like it's leaning more towards this effort and linking up, meeting up. Retreat is the clarifier. Past life relationships and the other oracle cards that I read were atmosphere, background information to also support that there's a potential for reconciliation and connections coming together with the intention to heal family issues, for an example, let go of control, to stay optimistic about your love life. So that just gives confirmation and context that there could have been trouble in the past, but your person is thinking about coming back together, and what does it take to be better, especially for those of you that have children. It looks like to be better for your family, or if they're considering having children with you, that they see that you're a beautiful potential mate to have a family with. So these are what I'm looking at. That's the energy as it's moving through the 8th house at this time. I hope I gave a rough enough sketch, like a objective framework for you to put your storyline over it if it resonates. The 8th house governs so many things to describe a reconciliation and a coming together again, or meeting the one and preparing to meet the one. When preparation meets opportunity, that's a recipe for success type of a reading is being stated here. It looks like a sense of surrender, just an openness to make adjustments as needed for the higher good, to be successful, to coexist harmoniously together and within oneself. But let's see here. Kind of feels like a layered reading. For example, if I try to layer this and look at the house symbolisms, the 12th house comes to mind, because there was healing and process while there was movement happening. They couldn't stay in the distressful and intense energy that they were in. They had to keep deadlines. They had to keep moving forward and heal and process and progress. And it looked like there was a lot of houses that were feeling intensity, and it was giving second house wounded healer that everything was happening to raise value, to raise their self-esteem, to come out of having a mindset that rendered a fear of success, and to raise their standards. So that type of energy is resonant right here in the framework to objectively describe it. You see how there's the world and the Ace of Fire, which talks about learning lessons, mastering lessons after going through the many trials and tribulations. And here's the consideration of an openness to what do I need to do to be successful, and having a willingness to be vulnerable and open to do whatever it takes to be successful. Also having faith that whatever it takes is acquired, is available, is within. They have it. The potential is here, but just how to do it, is also there, because this indicates mastering lessons and having a new beginning with such a refinement. So raising, ascending in their karmic chapter, having this beginning, this beautiful new beginning, a past relationship. Yeah, that speaks to the divine nature of the connection. The eighth house deals with, deep spirituality. So one could look at this house to look at, what's going on in the spirit. And this is like a esoteric, metaphorical way of looking at that type of framework of rededication of one's faith and vows or belief systems, the philosophical mindset. It looks like a rededication. So I hope I was helpful in of providing that framework. And so I'll prepare the reading table to move us to our next house, which is the 7th house, Libra's house. So greetings, chat. Again, I just want to thank you for your support on the channel. Thank you for interacting and your support on the video. Okay, so past life relationship. Pay attention to the red flags. You deserve love. Oh, pay attention to the red flags. You deserve love. Soulmate. You deserve love. Let your friends help you. All right. Libra, the 7th house. Dear Holy Spirit, please give me a reading for Libra, aka the 7th house. Okay, so this one is a real clear shot. It looks like recapturing something from the past, some sense of nostalgia, putting the work in it. It looks like, what do they call it when you get something and you're able to refurbish it, recondition it, perfect it, all within divine timing and with proper alignment, divine timing and alignment. Yes, so that's so clear. It doesn't need to be worked anymore. Nice. So I'll put a pin in that one, and because it was so fast, and I could move on, it was so simple. But let's pull some more cards, clarifiers, which could redirect the storyline, add information, or reiterate the same thing. So I feel like that's a reiteration. I feel like that was a reiteration of what was already said. The Eight of Pentacles here in both of the placements. So that's a confirmation where it just, here the additional information is the Six of Cups, which is that nostalgic recapturing from the past. And here having the Hermit clarify the Eight of Pentacles, which is the same card here. But it's saying the same thing for me because we're talking about refurbishing it, reconditioning it, perfecting it, and then all within divine timing is being clarified with the Eight of Cups, which I feel like is setting it and forgetting it, kind of like, yeah, it's done, complete, the work is finished, and it's very esoteric, like spiritual seeds planted, so to speak, and here goes the spiritual light, essentially speaking of it that way, and here's the work put into it, the faith put into it, is what's being described here. Metaphysically, I feel like, spiritually, esoterically, all within divine timing, refurbishing, healing, restoring, and recapturing something from the past, and putting that work in it as well to recapture it and to take it along with you, salvage it, save it type energy. In some case, it just feels like the additional information that could add, expound on the context is there's a lot of selflessness here in this third position with the Magician being clarified with the Eight of Cups, because this healing and this rebuilding and refurbishing or restoration being described, then with the Eight of Cups, it feels like that could be very selfless, like for others, for somebody else, doing all that work and that healing, almost even, without mentioning it, may have just done that and not even got credit for it, just might not have even noticed you doing it. And also, if it doesn't involve anybody else, there's a lot of personal work, someone doing this intrinsically, introspectively for themselves. And actually, that's been a highlighted running theme throughout the houses, especially with Chiron, the wounded healer, being in retrograde in Taurus right now, which, introspectively, internally, subjectively, someone beginning to raise their standards, beginning to realize that their values are too low, were too low, and they're healing themselves. Everything that is intense and catastrophic or just painful happening around someone is happening and going to catalyze. It's going inside. It's affecting them inwardly, where they just, without question, effortlessly, even without their participation. Their values, their standards are being raised. So that would show, like, even on a personal level, that happening. And pointing to the seventh house is the house of love, Venus, partnerships. So, those reconciliations that are on the horizon being described, partnerships, even those from the past, reconciliations. So that's what is being described in the seventh house for me at this time. That's what I see there. So thank you guys for your support and interaction on the chat and on the video. And let's see, I'm going to clean up the reading table to prepare us to go into our next house. We'll be taking a break and we'll do a part 2 coming back. So in this part 1, we've gone through Pisces, Aquarius, we've gone to Capricorn, Sagittarius, Scorpio, and now Libra. So when we come back, we'll get into Virgo, Leo, Cancer, Gemini, Taurus, and Aries. Okay, so we'll be back. Thanks again ever so much, guys, for your comments, even in the chat here. Inspiring me to open up the yes or no as soon as possible. Signing off for now.